love of marketing come from? How did you decide that this was the field you were going to pursue for your career?
Well, you know, I'm trained as an economist at the University of Chicago and at MIT, having learned my economics from Milton Friedman and then Paul Samuelson, both of which were prize winners, Nobel Prize winners. And frankly, I didn't want to compete, because if those two giants can't agree on what good theory is, one being a free marketer and one being a Keynesian, I said, and then I noticed that economics pay no attention to anything but price. They never modeled the effect of advertising and promotion. They never modeled the effect of sales force, because they couldn't quantify it enough. And so there was a big gap in what I would call market economics, which is actually what I do. It's market economics. I treat marketing as part of economics.
What are 3 megatrends that you foresee or see on the horizon?
Well, I would say that the empowered customer is something we are living with. Secondly, we see the pace of technology giving us new tools all the time, and more power, not only to consumers but to businesses that are ready to adopt new technologies. And then the third is the globalization, which means that if you're lucky and you build a strong product and brand name, you don't have to sell it just in your own country, because and so is McDonald's, and the key really is to get something that hits the heartstring of people throughout the world.
Well, that's an interesting point, because absolutely that's the case for Starbucks. But what about a company like Kraft, for instance, where the Oreo in the U.S. is very different than the Oreo in China, but they've latched on to the strong name of Oreo and realized, wow, we can really, go to market with the name Oreo.
Yes, and why should they produce the Oreo in the same way in different countries, as long as the name suggests the same basic treat? And McDonald's is not the same in every country, because they began to notice they became #2 in the Philippines, because Jollibee was becoming #1, more flavor to the Filipino taste. So even Coca-Cola changes in its sweetness and carbonation in different places. You have to adapt.
Okay. So as a marketer, do you try to create a global strategy, almost like a template, and leaving space for the regional differences?
Yes, definitely. Less so maybe with electronics equipment. I mean, a camera and a cell phone may look pretty much the same around the world, except for colors or something like that. But certainly with foods at the other extreme, you better worry that people have different taste dispositions.
And one final question. How would you recommend that countries, for instance the United States, we really have to market ourselves to the rest of the world, especially in these contentious times in which we live, and as we become an increasingly global world?
Frankly, there's just so much you can do. You can't put a false image of a country out to the world without it being a joke or exposed. You find out what your virtues are, and you communicate it to the audiences that are interested in that. There are some countries that are very good for vacationing and tourism and so on, and if that's the strength, they go along that path to promote themselves and get mentions. But with respect to the United States, the brand has been injured. There's no question. A book recently came out about how to repair the American image, but it's going to be through great changes in our policies and in our leaders.
Can you tell us about the book that you're currently writing on poverty?
Yes, I think the title will be Helping the Poor Succeed. This is a problem that has never been solved, and I want to express that it's in the interest of the people who are well off to help the poor get more purchasing power. You know, the people with money can just buy so many things. it may be another television set, and so on and so forth. But we're going to reach the end of demand at some point, but it's not because there aren't needs. It's just that the people with the needs don't have the means. So part of the book, it's about actually empowerment. As you may know, microfinance has become a great success story where you give $15 to a woman in Bangladesh to buy a cell phone, and she sells one call at a time to friends, and then she hires other women to do the same in other villages. Professor Prahalad has done a great deal by showing what could happen if you empower the poor to be business-oriented. But there's more to it than that. And we're taking a social marketing approach to both the health and the aspirational levels of the poor, and social marketing is a whole discussion in itself.
It's a great point, and it sounds like a fascinating book. I think what you're saying is that it's in everybody's best interest to continue to help build the burgeoning middle classes around the world.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.